Hello, my name is Jessica Kiebler, and I am an instructional services librarian at the Mortola Library in Pleasantville. For Banned Books Weeks, I'll be reading an excerpt from one of my favorite banned or challenged books, The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. The Golden Compass is the first in a trilogy series called His Dark Materials by British author Philip Pullman. The Golden Compass was published in 1995 and was made into a movie as well as a recent HBO series. In the story, there is an international church called the Magisterium, which controls politics and much of daily life. People also have demons, which are animal versions of their soul that live outside of their bodies. And it has been challenged frequently by religious groups for the book's critique of organized religion and the questioning of Christian theology, especially in a book geared for children and young adults. So we're going to be reading from, I believe, chapter 21. Dust is what makes the alethiometer work, he said. I thought it might be, but what else? How did they find out about it? In one way, the church has always been aware of it. They've been preaching about dust for centuries, only they didn't call it by that name. But some years ago, a Muscovite called Boris Mikhailovich Rusakov discovered a new kind of elementary particle. You've heard of electrons, photons, neutrinos, and the rest. They're called elementary particles because you can't break them down any further. There's nothing inside them but themselves. Well, this new kind of particle was elementary, all right, but it was very hard to measure because it didn't react in any of the usual ways. The hardest thing for Rusakov to understand was why the new particle seemed to cluster where human beings were, as if it were attracted to us, and especially to adults. Children too, but not nearly so much until their demons have taken a fixed form. During the years of puberty, they begin to attract dust more strongly, and it settles on them as it settles on adults. Now, all discoveries of this sort, because they have a bearing on the doctrines of the church, have to be announced through the magisterium in Geneva. And this discovery of Rusakov's was so unlikely and strange that the inspector from the consistorial court of discipline suspected Rusakov of diabolical possession. He performed an exorcism in the laboratory. He interrogated Rusakov under the rules of Inquisition. But finally, they had to accept the fact that Rusakov wasn't lying or deceiving them. Dust really existed. That left them with the problem of deciding what it was. And given the church's nature, there was only one thing they could have chosen. The magisterium decided that dust was physical evidence for original sin. Do you know what original sin is? Lyra twisted her lips. It was like being back at Jordan, being quizzed on something she'd been half taught. Sort of, she said. No, you don't. Go to the shelf beside the desk and bring me the Bible. Lyra did so and handed the big black book to her father. You do remember the story of Adam and Eve. Of course, she said. She wasn't supposed to eat the fruit and the serpent tempted her, and she did. And what happened then? They were thrown out. God threw them out of the garden. God had told them not to eat the fruit because they would die. Remember, they were naked in the garden. They were like children. Their demons took on any form they desired. But this is what happened. He turned to chapter 3 of Genesis and read. And then there's an excerpt. And then Lyra says, it was hers. She guessed that the two things that happen at adolescence might be connected, the change in one's demon and the fact that dust began to settle. Perhaps if the demon were separated from the body, we might never be subject to dust, to original sin. So thank you for listening to this reading from one of my favorite banned books, and check it out from your local library today.